humanitarian crisis. Because not doing it, it means we have mortgaged our own country and the future also of our children, our grandchildren. So, but I think in doing this, we have to go beyond meetings, so that's why I find it interesting when you say that, look, there is a need we create a movement. Now, a movement which will address this kind of problems and also guide people on guided agenda for the progress of our country. Because, we have been getting involved in various projects, support this person, support this establishment and all this kind of stuff. But at the end, when people are in office, they're on their own, and we don't develop any mechanism. I have some little experience, in this. If you take Abacha's day, Abacha's era, there was a lot of this movement by the DECO, other progressive elements in Nigeria. But at the end, there was no real organized transition to put the people who are concerned in the change. At the end, the whole political process were hijacked by the same people we assume to have removed. So the Babangida group and all this, they are the one who brought the presidency of Obasanjo. And also after Obasanjo, even before Obasanjo, we are into the movement of grassroots movement of MD Yusuf. I invited MD Yusuf into that movement. But what happened? Nothing. So also when you look during the Bahari movement, in fact, I was one of the first architects to design the Bahari political process. Unfortunately, Bahari, when he came also in the process now, he became the monumental disaster in the history of Africa. Because I don't think there is any single individual who have destroyed this country like during the Bahari era. So now the issue is, with this problem we are having, with this rich country that we have, now how do you come together and now develop what you call the process of leadership? Because the leadership itself, it has to go a certain process so that if anything, even if the movement have supported certain political agenda and also individuals coming into the process of power, how can they also be checkmated so that something to the contrary doesn't happen during that train? So in effect, we have to create certain level of confidence to our own people. Because the fact of the matter now, I am a grassroots person. I also go to the bush. If you enter in our villages, I can tell you they hardly have drinking water. In fact, I invited some doctors last year, and they told me 70% of the cases of children they treated were suffering from dehydration. So they don't have enough water to take. So if somebody cannot have enough water to take, you can be sure that the hygiene is not there. So I think part of this discussion, it should be, I think we have to develop a setup whereby we create a real practical movement and which there should be linkages so that we mobilize the entire country. And it's easy to do this because we have seen that with the experience which we did in Bahari. Initially, when we wanted to do, we said, look, since there is this corruption and all this, why don't we get a product that we can develop? More particularly, somebody from the north like Bahari, because it's easier in the north to start those kind of things because the northern elites are very lazy. So they wouldn't counteract any kind of those they thought we were crazy when we started. But then even haven't done it, So now what happened to the subsidy? Today, you have a country whereby you produce oil, you pay ship to take it to Europe, you pay the European refinery to refine it for you, you pay another vessel to bring it into Nigeria, and you sell it to unprecedented price to the Nigerian people. At the same time, you have all these details. That's why when you see the Tinubu government or whatever, if they are serious, they don't be telling people going around Germany and all this. No, who are the beneficiaries of this CBN scandal? Who are the beneficiaries of this oil subsidy? How much was realized from custom in the last 8 years? How much was realized from Port Authority? How much was realized from Niger Delta? What happened to the Nigerian Airways? What happened to this idea social investment? What happened in the digital economy? So all this have to come.
I think he's frozen. I'll put a call through to see. Pastor Tony, let me put a call through to him. Maybe you can hold the platform. Pastor is back. Sorry, we lost his connection, but I'm sure he'll be rejoining us shortly.
Yeah, well, he was really asking a few very, very pertinent questions. What happened to the Nigerian Airways? What happened to the refineries? What happened to the oil subsidy? Who are the beneficiaries thereof? And what exactly has been generated from the South or the Niger Delta? Very, very interesting and poignant questions, which are all begging for answers. And this is really the challenge of the Nigerian state. How do we get our ship of state right back on track? I mean, one of the questions I'm still going to be asking him his expectations of the present government.
He's back. Mr. Okay, we're muted.
And a few other questions on the structure of Nigeria. But Jumoke, while you're there, and maybe it might be good to also have your own thoughts as to which direction Nigeria is really going from your own perspective, or even from the perspective of the diaspora, and what, if any, roles diasporans are willing to play in repositioning and redirecting Nigeria. Any thoughts, Jumoke, very quickly?
Yes, Dr. Kofi is back, but like we mentioned last week that the diaspora has a strong role to play, and 2 weeks ago, in terms of really advocating for policies that help our leaders, hold our leaders more accountable. Dr. Kofi did mention that, we export our oil to be refined, and then there's high tariff on it, and it comes back to Nigeria and we sell it. And who are the beneficiaries of that process is the international community. So I think the role of the diaspora community is really to call it out in their new homes and sit at the table with these governments to help influence policies that are more favorable to the African continent. So that would be my quick addition. Dr. Kofi is in. And Dr.
Okay, Dr. Kofi. Dr. Akilu joined us also. Okay. That's
Yes.
good to see Dr. Akilu. It's been a little bit, Dr. Akilu. I'm happy that you're here. Maybe I'll ask you a few questions further down the program if you are willing to respond. But Dr. Kufi, if you are there, we've seen all the questions that you have asked and all that, but I want to ask you some very, very specific questions. You did describe the Buhari government. I can't remember the exact words that you used now, but you expressed your disappointment, let me put it that way, in that government. And you said that you were one of those who pushed for Buhari to try and take to try and run the government. Number one, I'm going to ask you why you did that, why you pushed for Buhari. Number two, I'm going to ask you what you're expecting of Buhari. Number three, I'm going to ask you why you think that he didn't perform as that his performance was so he didn't quite meet the match. I'm looking for the right words to use. And not only that, maybe I'm going to be asking you also very, very quickly what your expectations of the present administration will be. And then I want to then tackle you on some structural issues concerning Nigeria. If you are there and you heard my 3 or 4 questions, please, I'll expect a quick response, straight to the point, so that we can take on as many questions as we can with you. Thank you.
Uncle Bashir, please unmute. We've asked you to unmute. Okay. Please, there. Let me put another call network.
I think it's probably.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, did you hear the questions?
I had the questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So why we push for Buhari? At that time, some group of us, we thought that the question of traditional approach leadership in Nigerian politics, I think there should be a change. So for that reason, we said that now let's look for somebody whom we think he can tackle the indiscipline in the country and the corruption issue, because it's part of the security problem in our country, and somebody maybe who the common man can trust. So, and also, Buhari does not have that kind of national spirit. We say, all right, now let's organize within this geopolitical zone in the north first. We consolidated it and we reach out to other. So that's precisely because of the past Buhari presidential, Buhari credentials. Now, having done that, we campaign all over the country. We make all the necessary arrangements for these political movements. Now, unfortunately, then Buhari later came to emerge as president. So the issue at Buhari's government, I didn't participate in Buhari government. It's not that actually I wasn't invited, but the fact of the matter, when I saw the composition and also the thinking, I know they can't reach anywhere. And there is no what you can call sincerity in tackling the Nigerian situation and vis-a-vis the concern and the pettiness for the Nigerian people. So, of course, Buhari started. And why did he fail? It was very obvious. Because he was, one, you have a leader who doesn't supervise. And I think also the mental capacity is not as supposed to be for an African leader, a leader who leads over 200 million people. Then you have also psychopaths around the government, inexperienced people. If you take now like the case of his nephew Tunde, who was around the government, who decides, the position Tunde was holding, Osabiu, was that of the PPS, Principal Private Secretary of the President. And that position usually is a position held by a federal permanent secretary, who also have an office. So, but here is a boy. I know him when he was salary charged to us when we were doing campaigns. So this is a boy who I think he was not up to 30 or something. You will get a letter from SSS, you will get a letter from the NIA, from foreign president. This is a boy who has no understanding of anything. He's the one to open the letter. He's the one to decide whether a president should see it or not. So you see, you create certain. So in this our movement, you have to create a situation where this cannot happen in normal countries. And you know, not to even compare to Europe, US, even in those days, when we were young, when our parents were civil servants, there is no way this kind of thing can happen. So now after Buhari, he has stayed in office, but he basically doesn't know what was going on. For 7 years, Buhari have never gone to the airport by road, from Villa to the airport in Abuja. So he wouldn't know even if there is a pothole on the road, which maybe when he come back, he still find the pothole. So you see, but then how do we approach this? Now we have to make a serious movement where we bring serious people, committed people who are involved in the Nigerian project, who are interested in the Nigerian project, so that you can, then is within that context, then you have this continental constituency. And then why you have respect for professionals. You remember when this regime wanted to, this Bola, what's his name? Tinubu regime wanted to invade Niger. One of the first person who spoke was Casey, this former permanent secretary of foreign affairs. He said, this is silly. You have to discuss with people who know and what to do. How can a Nigerian take a gun to go and fight Niger, where you also have a hostile environment? Because all the states bordering Niger will not have safe entrance into Niger. Algeria, Mauritania, Burkina Faso, and others are all against. So how can you land into Niger? And how would you show that you are different with Israeli?
Again.
So, sorry?
Did you hear it just now?
Sorry?
Sorry, there was interference, sir.
Interference. I think we have to mute our people.
Yes.
Please go ahead, Doctor.
Yeah.
And,
so Buhari ended.
Unmute yourself, Uncle Bashir. Please unmute yourself.
Dr. Bashir, please unmute yourself. And don't forget that you're going to be giving us your own prognosis of what you think the present new administration is going to do. What if you look into a crystal ball? Thank you.
Yeah. Am I unmuted now?
Yeah, you're muted. We can hear you.
Yeah. So that's so now when you come into office, and then by the time you left as the president of Nigeria, basically in the north here where I live, I can tell you in most of these our states, 50% of the kids are not going to school for the last 6 years because of the banditry or Boko Haram in those areas. Now, in a future of a country, what do you do? A whole generation of kids who are supposed to be in primary 1 to primary 6, they didn't go to school. Most of these schools are occupied now by bandits and Boko Haram and the rest. Forget whatever people are saying, but that's the fact on the ground, because I am on the ground, I know what is going on. So, and when you are having that, and then you have a country where basically you have no macroeconomic policy, you can't control your own currency. And now you are facing food security crisis because in the bulk area of agriculture, they're having farm this year because the bandit couldn't allow them. And then there is this psychological Fatinos. They one time even took some women to the hospital because they were gang raped by bandits. And this is what is happening every day in our areas. But of course, now what's the substance? So there was no even arrangement of how do you transit into maybe some serious leadership. Now that's bring us to this government of Tinubu now. Are they addressing the issue? I don't think whether they understand the issues, because still the banditry is going on. It's even worse than before. And and our people have to understand this very clearly, particularly some of our brothers from the south. It's not the issue of the north, because when you have banditry in the north and then spending these millions on security, these millions of security they are spending is from the Nigerian money, which also the southern person have a right on that money. So how can, because of the support or attitude of irresponsibility of whichever government, then you are shortchanged as somebody, as a Nigerian citizen? So your money, instead of it to be budgeted for more advancement, then you get it being stolen in the name of maintaining the security in the north. And then it should change your balance of what you should have to develop your own side. So I think this, and I think also part of the major problem of Buhari, he was not talking to anybody. And I think I can see the same trends with also this government. They're not talking to anybody. To people who know, because if they are talking to people, their perception of what to do in Niger wouldn't have even been contemplated by a serious government. Because how do you say that you attack a sister country of Africa? And then you go and cut up water lights. And this light issue in Niger, it was something negotiated in 1965 as a treaty, because Niger wanted to dam their rivers. If they dam their rivers, will not have water in Nigeria, in the part of the north in particular, why we have dams. So it will dry up. So we make this kind of agreement. And then you send people to negotiate. And what Niger was saying, they say that, look, they understand this politician who are running the country, they have stolen the money, the funds of the country, that they were even surprised their president was using presidential jet. Because, in Niger, president never had presidential jets. If they want to go somewhere, either they go in commercial or they ask Nigeria to borrow them also Saudi Arabia. So now they see their president, this Bazoum, was using craft to even campaign. So they say, look, you guys, you are becoming like Nigerians. And then the son of the previous president was appointed oil minister. So all these things were going on. And then, of course, it was not this regime, Mike, who closed the border. It was Buhari who closed the border. So, but when this regime came, you unilaterally as Nigeria, the day that they caught that light, about 28 kids were on incubators, and they were dead in one of the hospitals in Niamey. So in this case, it's like comparative analysis of what is happening in Gaza. Because kids were dying because of certain kind of blockade you do to them up to today. Their hospitals are not functioning. And also now these people come out, they were questioning the French. The French were buying their uranium at 5,000 per metric 5,000 euros. And now the Russians, the Chinese had offered 55,000. So you could see the difference. Even the parliament in Niger is being rented from a French company. So you see the attack. So now what happened? You circle them, so you are creating unfriendly nature to our neighboring country. And we as Nigerians, most of you, some of us, we participated even in the practical struggle in Southern Africa. People who know us, so it's not this we are not familiar with the arithmetic on the ground. So I think what this regime, we cannot reform. I believe that there must be some concrete movement, and I'm happy you guys are bringing up this one. And we should mobilize people, but be more practical, not limited to these talks and seminars. No, the real movement, because already people are dissatisfied. Now, if you are dissatisfied on a certain kind of arrangement, then you have to come and create an alternative with a guided progressive agenda. Thank you, sir. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you. He's still here.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's still
so
here.
I stop here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll bring him back on. I think he just landed so probably making his way.
Auntie Jumoke, I think you should continue engaging him. Also, will come back now.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for the back. Okay, he's back on now. Go ahead, sir.
Sorry about that. So let's go forward. A lot of people have been calling for the restructuring of Nigeria, and I really must ask you this question. They think that the North has been unduly advantaged. The North has been preferred by the colonial masters in terms of the running of government and so on and so forth, and that somehow or the other, this present situation where you just divide oil and share the money of oil has prevented a lot of other regions from focusing on developing their own natural resources and raising their own money. Also, the law that the constitution that makes for the federal government to own all the mineral resources and things like that makes it uninteresting for states and sub-regionals and even individuals to invest in these minerals, and it is stifling the economy of Nigeria. And also this issue of the slightly lesser development of the North, especially in terms of education. Most of the 20 million children out of school, they are in the North. Somebody was telling me the other day that there's a state where the governor, maybe Zamfara or so, he didn't even pay WAEC fees for like 3 or 4 years for his students. It means that there's a backlog of children that have left secondary school who probably have no hope of going to university, at least not in Nigeria, because of the act of this president. What's your response to this thinking and this thought? And what do we do? How do we move Nigeria forward? And what really, if you are able to hazard a guess or you're in a position to respond, what is the position of the North and what does the North want?
No, you see, sometimes, I think people make a mistake. If you say that now, like you are saying on Zamfara education, he didn't pay WAEC. People even didn't ask, have even these children gone to school, even to sit for WAEC? And what happened to that? It means that you have irresponsibility at the level of the elites in those states or elite in the North, that this is happening and you don't give a damn. So it's not a question, it's just when you look at the Niger Delta. I stay many times in the creek. In Niger Delta, when you go around, really, you enter inside the creeks and all this, you really feel like to cry because you find they don't have even functional facility of any kind. But what is happening? It's not somebody coming from the east or from the north. You have their own governors, you have their own ministers, you have their own senators whom, when they voted for them in Harry Town or in Bogoma or in Calabar, They will never go there until next time when they want to go and campaign for election. But at least one comparison with the elites from the north. In the south, you find that some of the elites, because maybe of their kind of communal culture, you are duty bound to do some community activities. Maybe to build schools, to help in hospitals. In the north, it's very rare you find those kind of things. The elites have no connection with the population of the north. So otherwise, which northerner will tell you that he's more comfortable under Buhari than maybe under Obasanjo? Because he couldn't eat under Buhari. Buhari was in Katsina when they kidnapped 300 children in a boarding school in Katsina. He was in Daura. He finished his vocation. I have never visited the area when that thing happened. And this is a retired general. So the question, even comparing that, what about people from here? No, what we need is serious people who are concerned with the problem of our country. Because these people, they have common interests. If today you are a Nigerian minister, you are Igbo minister, you are Niger Delta minister, you are Kaduna minister, you are Katsina minister, your class interest is the same. You live in Asokoro in Abuja, your children go to the best school outside the country, you chase similar type of people around the world. And if you are a Hausa driver, you are an Igbo driver, you are the Niger Delta driver, you are a driver and live in the shanties outside Abuja. So you have common interests, Hausa driver, and your children will not go to normal schools. And maybe at the best what you'll do as a driver, you will train your child to be a driver and to be a driver of the son of that your Oga, whom you have been serving. And this regardless to background and all this. But the also issue now, the over-centralization of Nigeria is part of the crime created by the Nigerian elite so that they can be able to control the sources of our country and even to control our thinking and bring confusion into our thinking. And then you use tribalism, you use religious bigotry to create and give room for incompetence. Because tell me one of the Buhari's minister who was competent. And you cannot do things also when you are not basing it on justice. In Islam, when Holy Prophet was sending one of the disciples to go to Syria, present Syria, he said, look, when you meet those people, you should try to be fair to them and also have pity to them because they are either your brothers in Islam or your brothers in humanity. So either way, some of us went and fought in South Africa. We were activists on student movements in the US. We campaigned for this boycott of big corporations who are invested in Southern Africa. We supported the PLO. I was one of these, at that time as a student who went to United Nations over massacre of Shatila and Sabira in Lebanon by Ariel Sharon. I was in Baghdad during this crisis through what we call Cambridge Initiative. So we have gone around the world. We have seen. So when we go and even fought on the side of justice outside the country, so what happened then to our country? Then we are here, and you feel like you are something because you have even nobody to talk to. Most of this kind of thing, when you start talking to people, you start something, and then from there it will fizzle out. We have to come, and I really, and for one of the reasons why, I listened to your speech that day, and I could read from you. It's coming from your heart, the convener, and also Fatia Kibu invited me, and I know how practical she is. She was in the bush with us in Katsina, So people have to be raised. There's a question of the Niger Delta. These are Nigerians. Is it not a shame to say that they cannot go to school? As a Fulani man, what will I benefit for Yoruba child not to go to school? Why should an Igbo kid cannot have access to medical service? Why wouldn't I promote, a policy that will give all the Nigerian children maximum opportunity and so that they can excel over the world? I'm sure, the diaspora is very critical. They play a fundamental role in the political process in any country in the world because we have seen Azukwe, he was coming from the US, the return of it. We know Awolo was something, even in the case of Nigeria. We know the diaspora role they play in Haiti, and now Haiti become this kind of cities. We know also what they did in other parts of the world. So I think they have a fundamental role to play, but not the role which the diaspora will come to arrange with the other capital bourgeoisie to sell our own assets and then make our people impoverished in collaboration with their comparable bourgeoisie in Nigerian government, are sponsored by Kuru. Because now when they are telling you the amount of money stolen, sometimes you feel like this Nigerian money is monopoly money, which they say that buy that, go to jail, do all this kind of stuff. So I think it is important that we see how we can be able, because now what is happening now? Do you know that most of these now ministers we are talking about, most of these people who benefited, it is only in Nigeria you devalue our currency for the service on an individual. What they were doing in the previous regime was that dollar has been sold 700 in the market, and then they sell it to official rates, 400 naira. So, which means the government itself, they devalue naira 40% and give you those dollars, and then you go and sell it in the market. I know there is an individual who was given $1 million allocation of something, so he make about 1 billion every week. So when you want to repair Port Harcourt refinery, why do you have to go and borrow money? You say, look, you benefited for the last 8 years. You have now about 1 trillion naira. You bring it, we fix our refinery. Then maybe the diaspora there can play a role. They bring a refiner who can fix the refinery. Within 2 weeks, within 2 months, you can do that because you can use even air cargo. It's Nigerian money. By the time you fix your refinery, you then pay it. Because it's a shame for Nigeria to be talking of landing costs when you are having petroleum in your country. And then the price is even worse in the creeks. Because when you are buying fuel in Abuja for 600 naira, I can tell you they will be buying it over 1,000 there. So, and it's not fair to them. You take this thing, you give them all this pollution. Their children are not going to school. This is totally unacceptable, doing that to our Nigerian kids. So I think there must be a concrete why we can sit and then address this issue. Because you see, sometimes you even look at how do we do our democracy. In normal country.
We've heard you loud and clear. And we're going to Doctor, we've heard you. We're going to be opening up the space for questions now. But I want something specific from you. Very, very specific. What are the things we need to do specifically as Nigerians, as individuals, to turn and reposition this country and make this country what it should be? Plus and including, if you think one of the panaceas should be, let us divide the country into 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 regions. After all, India and Pakistan, when they're separate ways, the USSR was broken up Everybody is going about doing their thing. Malaysia and Singapore, they separated and everybody seems to be thriving. So what really do we need to do to unleash the best out of this geographical
Yeah, but you see, when you
environment called Nigeria, after all, into this thing called Nigeria,
yeah,
by British people who wanted to exploit our resources for their own benefit. So we are now Nigerians. We've gotten in the middle of the road. What are the practical things we should do to get the best out of this environment? Practical steps that can be done. Thank you, sir.
yeah. From my own perspective, you take when we are talking of economics and development, population itself is a factor. China is a big country, and they benefit from the size. And because the size will also give you additional talents. But you see, because of the craziness of some few elites, because if you look at this problem that you are saying, that a lot of this thing is urban phenomena. You will find maybe conflict between Hausa or Muslim and Christian, maybe in Kaduna. But you find that is the elite creation in the cities, because you will find maybe an Igbo living in the village of my village, of which if there is that crisis, for him, they can even eat him raw. But that they never have conflict, because they thought, he's there, they are peasants, they are doing their own activity, and he's doing his own trade. So I think but the issue is that nothing should be off the table for discussion in terms of development, in terms of political structure of the country. And the structure is not coming from the elites who have no interest of their communities. It has to be correct people who think properly. And also, we think, and this politics now is a time of integration. Europe thought that if they didn't integrate solidly, they will even be in problem because on the slot of the American dollar as an international currency. That's how they move into. And this thing they started since the Schuman debate in 1958 in Berlin. And then they reached to the extent that despite the pride of their own personal currency, they were able to consolidate it to become the euro. Without that, they would have been in big problem when the dollar became a strong currency. And when you look at our country, this is what the country has been dollarized. That some people now even don't take rent except in something. So I think what we should do, or what we should find, because I don't know what will happen in the next 1 year in Nigeria. So this kind of discussion by serious people, I think is important, because we should have a situation where we can be able, maybe, if anarchy will come up, we can be able to talk so that to save our country from vandalization and disaster. Because now, if you look at what is going on, you need an average of 20,000 naira per week, or to say 10,000 naira per week to foil your car. So in a month, 40,000 naira on foil alone.
He's frozen. Okay, you're back now.
Seems as if it's frozen again.
No, he's back now. Uncle Bashiru, yeah, okay. You were out there for a minute. No, you were out for a minute, but you are back now.
Okay. Because what I'm seeing, the crisis that will come into in this country, in the next row, we discuss issue and dissect the practical reality and the crisis in the Nigerian state, so that we see how we can coordinate in case of any kind of problem, you have a group of serious people that can be able maybe to, to come up and liberating the country if something happens. Because now, when you took the Nigerian, an average Nigerian person you meet is angry. Even those who work, young people who work in good organizations, Shell, maybe Chevron in Lagos, Central Bank in Nigeria, SEC and all this. When you take this kid, if you are giving them a salary of 500,000 a month, you spend 40,000 on fuel every week. That is 40,000. You buy a bag of rice, 60,000. No school in Abuja or Lagos, you pay below 500,000 per term. So about 1.5 million per annum. And still they have to have medical, they feed their extended family. So you have a situation where people cannot even move around. They cannot pay normal school fees. And then in Nigeria today, every house basically you have unemployed who are visibly angry. And those even who are employed, you see, they have to be from these small cliques of senators, political elements, and others. And also, we have never seen that in the history of Nigeria, whereby you sell employment letter. So when you sell employment letter to somebody and come in the service, what do you expect him to do? So you see, there is a very serious problem. And most of our roads are closed. You cannot follow the normal way, how we used to be. You are not secure, whether in the north or in the south. And I know in those days when we were young, and first when my cousin, you were in school with him, we used to go to Lagos by road. We leave here at 10 p.m. in Kaduna and arrive in Lagos the following day. You can't do that now. After all, the roads are bad. And every day in Nigeria today, bloodshed is going on. People will be killed, either by bandit, by Boko Haram, by Amraba, or by bad road. You fall into a pothole and your tire bursts and you die on the road. So you see, this kind of thing which are in the country, to what level this can be manageable? And then you also have these political leaders who they have no interest going on. When you see the debate going on in the National Assembly, you know it's a bunch of rubbish. And also look at the seats. Look at the British Parliament or US Senate or House of Rep. When they are having a session, do you see empty seats? Because people have to represent their constituency. But check in the House of Rep or in the Senate, how many seats you see that is empty. So I think the question is not, because as far as I'm concerned, when you talk about, okay, people talk about why not we break the country, take able state to this country. I think it's diversion. It's because I, as a Nigerian citizen, if something is going on, why did we participate in the war in Southern Africa? South Africa is not Nigeria. So even in our own country, so why should I see somebody is not going to school in the East? And I accept it. So I think it's something that we have to create some conscience in our people. And also, you know, our people are materially drained now. So because of their material derailment, they can hardly think. And I can agree with Marx. You know, Marx said that material condition of a human being determines his state of consciousness. But then he ended it beautifully. He said, no matter what a crook will do, people, man make history, but not according to his own choice. And those crooks also who are depleting our country, I think Rodney gave them an answer that in itself will not delay the day of judgment. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. We're going to take a few questions, and I'm going to be asking as Minister Sonny to direct the Q&A at this time. I think Ambassador Zachary Bundu, I thought I saw his hands up. I don't know if he's there or if he's gone off. If Ambassador Zachary is there, he can take the first question. Tola Obiemi can take the second. And there's somebody here, Charles Obi, I think, can take the third. And then we take it from there. So, Ambassador Zachary, if you're still there. Okay, seems not to be on the call again. All right, Tola, let's hear you.
Thank you very much, sir. And thank you very much, Doctor. Very, very enlightening discussion. I didn't know most of the things you talked about. I'm just hearing some of them for the first time today. And that's, thank you.
Okay.
But you didn't clarify something. I was expecting.
Yeah.
Pastor asked you about this administration.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I get you right. You said that you looked at the weights and the direction. You are not sure that they know what they are doing. They don't understand what they're doing. And I'm a bit happy with the direction because of the economic empowerment policy and all that they're doing. The kind of economic team he has put in place is giving me some level of hope. Then also in terms of security, for the first time we're having, to me, for the first time we're having personnel, soldiers that are really hands-on. They go to the field to fight. So I feel they are eager to end the security situation in the country. So I have a little hope in terms of security, in terms of economy. I'm not sure about other areas, but if I take those two, I think I'm a bit happy a bit. But with what you said today, I feel a bit, I don't know. You say you're not sure whether they understand what they're doing. So it's not giving me that kind of happiness again.
No, I'm not saying they don't know what they are doing. What I'm saying, you see, if you compare it with Buhari regime don't talk to people. And I think this government is having similar trends. But in terms of the teams, when you see the quality of people they put, you cannot deny the fact that you have certain quality of people in the place, and then you may expect something positive. This is normal. Because what is the failure of Buhari initially? You put incompetent people. When you put incompetent people, you will not expect to have quality results. But what I'm saying, this government, you are talking about all this money stolen from Port Authority, from customs, from central bank and all this. Now, for you, you don't even need to waste your time to go and be running around Germany or Saudi Arabia and all this. No, get these people who have taken this money because it's on record, they are there. So take out the money and work for the Nigerian people. This is what I'm saying. In terms of security, it's not a question of soldiers to go. So, address the security issue. You also have to address the social program. When people are unemployed, there is no army you will send to address the security program. When somebody who have companies cannot run their factory because they cannot afford the cost of the diesel, that is also a security concern. When kids are not in the school, it's not military who will be in Zamfara or in something that you can, something. And the military also, Mike, some of the richest people in this country with all this kind of asset in Lagos and Abuja, they are military officers. So if you didn't check this concretely, it become a problem. This precisely, after all, when you go and take somebody to serve in the ministry, and you know it's a quality person, you take people in various agencies, you go and put somebody competent MPA, go and put somebody competent, and you have people in the anti-graft agencies, like the EFCC. You put a very competent person like the one you have now, because I believe it's a very competent person. You know, and then you address all these kind of things. Then there can be that kind of we are talking, but that in itself does not address the thing holistically. So you have to carry people along to understand what is going on, and then to put things in perspective, and then for the interest of our country. Because I don't see how you stay 1 year under this kind of circumstances without addressing it. I think there may be problem, because people are very angry in the country. People can hardly eat. I'm saying not way poor people in the villages. I'm talking of elites. Hardly you find elites who can have 3 square meals. Hardly you can have an elite who can boast of going to London and come back, which ordinarily shouldn't be a big problem to buy a ticket to go to London and come back 5 hours flight. So this have to be taken realistically. And also to assume those who criticize you, you know, then you raise a question. And don't assume somebody is an enemy or you get away to deal with him. So what? It's better you deal out with the situation rather than dealing with individual. Because individual is one person, but you deal with it something. And it's better you get those who like the setting to criticize you rather than your enemies. I think that's what happened, the problem with the Soviet Union. Those who like Marxism were not allowed to criticize the regime. So only enemies who were criticized, and that led to a lot of problem in Russia. So this basically what I'm saying, sir. But the security problem is quite a problem in our country. Nobody can tell you he has the confidence to go in his own small village, whether in the north or in the south, to go and stay and sleep comfortably. Yes, sir.
Tony, can you take the other questions if it's there? I think Mr. Charles Obi, you
Yes,
can
sir.
unmute yourself.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Bashir. I think this sounds like music to our ears. And I'm just wondering, I have quite a few questions because of what you have said in this conversation. I'm curious to know your thoughts on amending or changing the Constitution as it is today, number one. Number two, are you working with any group right now in Nigeria to see how some of these things you have discussed, how change can come? Because you said people are angry, and that is true. And there's an EFCC in our country, but right now the EFCC, I'm sorry to say, seems like a toothless bulldog, because there are so many allegations of people who are corrupt, but the EFCC doesn't seem to be able to do anything to bring those people to book. We are reading here that the former CBN governor has returned 4 trillion naira. I don't know if that is true or not, but that's the report we are seeing. The question is, if he did something like that, he could not have been alone. Who else was working with him? What is the EFCC doing about that? And most definitely, what would be good to hear from you is, you are among friends here, I believe, with the AIG people, and so you can say a lot of these things clearly. But can we see some of what you're doing in the streets or in the state houses in Nigeria? Because definitely what you are saying, we resonate with a lot of people, especially all these angry people. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. You are quite right when you say I said that I think the previous speaker raised issue of that this government, at least to some extent, they appoint quality people, which I say, yes, it's true. Because you have people with experience, the CV that, but you know, there are a lot of education that exchange hands in the appointments. So that is also true. There are those kind of allegation. Hello? Hello?
We can hear you.
Yeah. So you see, so there is that kind of allegation. I say I just make an example in the EFCC. I say that, you know, like the appointment of the head is somebody whom, to my own understanding, from what I'm hearing on the papers and also from other people who know him, that he is competent and he's thorough on what you do. Compared, if you take the previous leadership in the EFCC, they were involved. He created his boys who go and terrorize people, and we learned that even were collecting money themselves among that agency. So I'm not saying that I'm not talking at the agency holistically. I am talking in line of when you say competent people are being appointed, and this is what we see even on the appointment of the Tinubu. There are quite a number of competent people that were being employed. So, but now the issue whether I'm working with groups, yes, work some other people, but I am more on the field to work with practical people. I reduce participating in conferences, seminars, and all this because I learned from my own experience. It takes a lot of somebody's time, and the thing wouldn't continue, and all this kind of stuff. I am in this because I believe from this little interaction I have with the group, and also Jumoke and the group's members I know within the organization. I thought there is something a little serious that one can participate. And also maybe you can voice out something maybe you may not hear. So, and that's one other things that I said. I don't know that I didn't answer one of the questions. I think there is one. Is there something that I didn't answer? Can you hear me?
Yes. You answered the question, sir.
Okay.
I have a question. You know, and thank you so much for really talking about the fact that even though we are from different parts of the country, different cultural, religious beliefs, but the issues or the challenges we face is the same. I do appreciate you bringing that to the forefront. And so now together, and I know, as you said, our diversity, which is our strength, has been weaponized against us. But how do we come back to the center as Nigerians, irrespective of our geopolitical zones, because the issues are the same? How do we chart that path forward to that Nigeria that works for all Nigerians? Like you said, you as a Hausa man, it's not in your best interest that the Yoruba kid is out of school or the Igbo kid is out of school or the Hausa kid is out of school. How do we now come back to that alignment to begin to chart progressive path forward as Nigerians? And then we have
this is very simple. Yeah, so this is simple. You know, the so-called political leaders have to be sincere and emphasize materialism in the context of public service. Because when you look at during the regions, Sardauna, Awolowo, Azukwe, you know, these politicians, when Sardauna built NNDC, Northern Nigerian Development Company, that time it was the tallest building in Kaduna. You know, Awolowo also built Cocoa House. When Awolowo built Surulere Stadium, Sardauna built Ahmad Bello Stadium. So they were competing on development of projects in their various regions. But now when you see the political leaders of nowadays in Nigeria, or the so-called political heads, they are more competing on looting the national treasury rather than competing on some level of production for the interests of their people. So you see, it's very clear. Once you think that you are there to work to serve, then you will have trust of the people. But if all you do is to build a house and all this kind of thing, then you are running into a very serious problem. So I think we can easily go back to that when people are sincere and people have opportunities. In those days, I went to United States on scholarship for 4 years. I don't think now there is any state that can sponsor. I mean, this part of the country, I don't know in the southern part of the country. They will sponsor people to pay them to go to school and they finish. And when you finish school, you have a job waiting for you in your country. That's why they say that if you want to see whether a country have a problem, go to foreign embassies. If you see many people are queuing Quebec visa to get out of their country, you know there is a problem in that country. And come and work for our people. Yeah. So I'm on.
Thank you.
Yeah, next question.
Yeah, Pastor Sonny. I don't know if he's back on because he's.
Yeah, I am. Is there any hand up again? Okay,
there are 3 hands.
Okay, we will take those hands. Dr. Bashir, I want to especially greet you. I am one of your students. I graduated from ABU in 1990, and I remember you back in the days, very fair. You have been at this project Nigeria for as long as I can remember. It will seem things are not getting better. You know,
hello? Yeah.
His audio is shaking.
You have alluded to the fact that you are shying away now from attending seminars and even working more on practical. Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you better.
Can you hear
now.
me?
We can hear you better now.
Okay, but did you hear me, sir? All right. Okay.
Yeah, so repeat.
Should I take the question
because
again?
it was shaking before. Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, I'm clear, right? But it's whether he can hear me.
Yes, he can hear you. Go ahead, Pastor Sonny. You were shaking before, but I think it's better now.
I'm just greeting you and I'm acknowledging the fact that I was one of your students. I graduated from EB.
Okay.
So he was acknowledging that he was one of your students and that his question, his question was, you did mention that you were not interested in the seminars and you were more practical. So he wanted you to expatiate on that. Oga level 1, I mean.
I heard you say that you are shying away. Hello?
Yeah,
you're breaking in and out, but go ahead, sir.
Jumoke, go ahead if I'm not audible.
Yeah, I can. I can hear you.
You can hear him?
Yeah.
Exactly. Given that we have the highest rate of poverty in literacy.
I think we
Okay, Jumoke, maybe you can repeat the question, what is?
Well, the part that I heard was he said he did acknowledge or he understood the fact that you were shying away from seminars and you were more on the field. But maybe we should take those two hands that are up and wait for him to come back. He'll probably be better than I. Yeah. So can I have Charles please ask your question? Maybe we'll take these two questions together. And usually we will take a group together so that we can save time. So Charles, please ask your question, and then I would also have Said Adeleye ask his question. Please go ahead. Charles, we asked you to unmute.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
We can hear you. Please mute your background noise. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you so much to the speaker for that insight. My questions are as follows. One, do you honestly believe that Nigeria can move forward as one entity being governed as an entity, or we should go back to regional government? And the reason why I'm asking the question are, A, to move forward, the cultural, the religion, the moral, and the education are very, very important to move any group or nation forward. We have tried, up to now, we are not at par with each other in terms of education, in terms of culture, in terms of moral, and in terms of nation building. So do you agree that the best way would be to go back to regional government, whereby we can compete, I call it co-competition, while we cooperate together, but also we compete in a healthy atmosphere? For example, I'm a Westerner in the Western region. We value education. Our parents will actually starve themselves to send us to school. And that has helped a bit of our economy in the Western area, Western region. But culturally, having more children, having more wives, predominates in the North. And that, I believe, is not as par with Western part of Nigeria and Southern part. So we are not able to get to an equilibrium where we can then move forward. So will you agree that regional government is the best? Secondly, I heard you say we need selfless leaders. Now, I believe in the city of the blind, one-eyed man is the king. We have moved forward. Those days where Awolowo, Azikwe, Sadana were celebrities has gone. The internet, the education, people now know more. We don't need selfless leaders, in my opinion. We need institutions. If we have good and viable institutions, any leader that does not fall into place will be exposed and will be expunged. So I think we should stop looking for selfless leaders. We should create good institutions that nobody passes through the institution without being treated. Those are my two questions, sir. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead, Mr. Said Adeleye, with your question.
Okay, thank you. And first, let me acknowledge the African leadership executives. Thank you so much for your consistency and dedication to pulling this conversation, before us all. It takes a lot, and you're dearly applauded and appreciated. Having said, thank you, Doc, for also sharing your thoughts. A few statements before my question is, we cannot give up. And a lot of these conversations and these points raised are equally known to us. We just have to be intentional to focus on solution, and also not to forget history. There is no way we can build the future without also making reference to history. So there's pride as Nigerians, and we must continue to take that pride forward, regardless of what our reality is today. My question to you, Doc, is this. Access to information is what sets the difference. And you are privileged to a lot of information that people don't really, have access to. The same thing as we have the African Leadership Group. My question is, what is your level of willingness to work with this group? I don't belong to the group, just so you know. So I wasn't basically asked to, to speak on behalf of. But I've been paying attention to identify that there is a strong movement now of intentional individuals who are equally skilled. You made a very strong position, which is the fact that the leadership are not listening to entities that they need to listen to be able to move things forward. So my question to you now is, how ready are you to align your efforts, your network, your resources, and access to information to organizations like, the African Leadership Group to be able to now utilize those resources and synergy by privileged information that you have for us to then mobilize a critical mass of the nations of the Nigerian citizens to protect and justify why we have to demand certain asks and needs for implementation by these political leaders. Because at the end of the day, we can sit here and talk about, diversity, about resources and what have you. It all stems back to the leadership, elected leadership, not appointed. Elected leadership needs to be held accountable for the reasons why they were elected. And if they are not performing, we need to act swiftly. We don't need for them to hand their tenure before we act on it. And that's the way forward. So again, sir, how willing and ready are you to mobilize your efforts, your synergy, your network alongside organizations like this? And we can all come together to then begin to, take it one step at a time. Brick by brick, eventually the wall will be built. Thank you for the privilege opportunity. I thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You can take those two questions, and then we have
so,
more question. One more question, and then yes. Sir.
So let me start with Said. I think he has captured quite a lot here, and because the most important is getting things done. I think which is very fundamental, which is what we are missing in various movements in our countries. You see, no matter what we talk, what we say, so how do we reach the goal? And I think that's the question of this group, whether I will be willing to work with the group. I'm already working with the group, so I'm a part of the group. And tens, hundreds of invitations I usually politely down, but this was one of the appointments which I was supposed to have at the same time, So there is no problem concerning this group. I will be part of the discussion, and whatever I'm expected to do, also I'll do. And I think it is important, this kind of introduction, so that we can make our country great. Access to information, yes, I think is the major problem. But do you know that I have seen in the bush where this bandit will go and mother, rape a daughter. In fact, in some villages, the bandit will direct you to go and take them a wife or your daughter, and they will bring her after 2 weeks. There is one case which I was seeing when the bandits raped one of the lady, and she got pregnant, and the husband divorced her. So it's not of she said, look, it's not the fault of mine, because the bandit came to the house, you are there, they took me away. You couldn't stop it, I can't stop it. And this is what is happening in that day-to-day basis. A lady last month came to me in the village. She said that they took her daughter, 2 daughters, the bandits. And they said they have to give them 1.5 million. They couldn't raise the 1.5 million. They raised 900,000, and nobody was willing to take the money to the bandit, the ransom money. So the mother had to take it herself. And when she went there, the boss told them that, look, you have to make a phone call to bring the balance before you can even go. So she said, look, there is no balance we can do. All we can get, we have gotten them. That's the. So one of the daughters who was kidnapped, she told her, then the mother said, look, mom, I mean, she told the guy, the bandits, that I agree, you should release these kids, these girls. Let me stay here. Then the girls, the daughters say, look, mom, we will not leave you here. Because since when we came here, they will be raping us. They were raping us for these 2 weeks. And they don't rape them in rooms or whatever. It's in the same area, everybody was there. What the mother even told me, the way we see the rape they do to them is not the same how we think. Because you see like 10 men make a queue on you. And you are seeing them, this one will come, this one will come, and all this. This was what is going on. But many people even don't know this, the harbor. But those who are in power, they know these things are going on. But so that's why this information is very important. But also the information, sometimes the problem, Said should know, is sometimes this translation. Sometimes if something happened in Hausa or in Yoruba, by the time you translate it in another language, it gives different meaning. So I think that's the most important thing we have to go into mind. But the issue that is any Nigerian, the reality is that is how many Nigerians are happy today. I think even those who have stolen money, they are not very happy. Because when you are rich in the cycle of the poverty, it's a problem. So that's how we see even assets of government are being sold to individuals and buy it at betters. They sell it to and sell it triple the price. So I think this now in the second question of my friend, that regional. The issue is a structure of a nation state. We don't have any structure of nation state. Even the presidential system that I said is a presidential system. If you are in the US, how many times you see a governor going to White House? He has no business of the White House. He will rule his state. And he believes in the independence of the state. Here is not any presidential, it's just kind of a unitary system ruled by political crooks. And then you find see like what is happening now in this Paris Global Fund, which they are giving governors. They are giving one of the former governor as a consultant. They are giving her about 200 billion for his consultancy, for organizing the stamp duty, to find out what is owed who and all this kind of thing. This is what's outright stealing. So I think the issue of whatever structure you call it, I think the structure is that, you see, you have to know that you have a mandate. If you are a senator, you should know you have a mandate of your own constituency. And you have to do the best you can do for the interest of your constituency. And this question of the leaders we should elect, I don't think it's a question of the leaders that we should elect. We should also, this movement should also be involved in leadership process. Because some of the leaders are not ready to lead in any way. So I think there must be a way whereby we could see even the quality of leaders we get. But the fact of the matter also, democracy in Nigeria, unlike where you have democracy of the people, by the people, and for the people. In Nigeria, is democracy for the people, against the people. And you get elected by buying the people. This is what is happening. Because when you talk of even fair election cannot be fair when money is used. Because a quality person, if you don't have money, you cannot be elected into office. So you think most of these governors we have, all presidents, you think they can be elected if they don't have resources? Are they really the best we get? And the question was how we can mobilize. I believe Nigerians can be mobilized because we can see the case of Buhari. Buhari was not having money. But there was mobilization, and people who even common man was contributing money. But you know that Buhari have a lot of devastation in the common man. Now the common man don't trust anybody. You say this Buhari, we come and work for him, but what to do? The common man is not looking for appointment. You will not be appointed, but you want a normal quality of life, and you couldn't get it. So issue of yes, disparity, the educational something. I think also is an orientation on that. If you get quality leaders, if you look at for example, I made a big effort of sending his people all over the world. And he established one of the best universities where we are now. Even though he's having that kind of, and most of these people who are even the Sardauna cabinet at that time, they are not even graduates. But what happened? Sardauna was not materialistic, even though he was conservative. Because when he died, he has no single plot anywhere in the north. And he left £3 in his account. So I think the issue is we get quality people, not necessarily to say, okay, also you can say you are honest, but under you, everything is being stolen. Like, how do you explain when Buhari says he's honest, but then there is complication of people around you, your ministers, your cousin, your nephew, your wife, the brothers of your wife. So how do you convince people that you don't know those things who are going on? So I can take the last question.
Yeah, we'll take the last question and then we'll ask you to close with your closing remarks. Please go ahead, Mr. Issa, with your question. And then there's a question in the chat as well that I will read out to you.
Okay.
Mr. Issa, please go ahead with your question. We've asked you to unmute.
Yeah, thank you so much. My name is Dr. Abdulkader Dalhaisa. Actually, I'm what Dr. Kurfi has been talking about. I'm a living witness of some of the activities he has been doing. And as I'm speaking to you, I cannot visit my birthplace because of fear of being kidnapped or something like that. And my question, I'll go directly to my question. You have just talked about how Sardauna envisioned the education system in Nigeria and established a university like ABU. And you have been in the system for over 37 years. So what are the prospects of Nigerian universities in taking Nigeria to the next level? That's my question, sir.
Yeah, that's a very good question, but I am afraid the level of quality of our education have completely gone down. Because number one, I don't think there is commitment from the central government in terms of the maintenance and the quality of the education system. And I think also, candidly, now the people don't feel adequately compensated, you know, for their engagement in the university. And I think the quality of research is also not there. And then you see other agencies. Now, like, let me tell you, my salary, which I retired with, is 391,000. That was what I was being paid for per month, my last pay slip. And then that day, somebody told me he's one of my students. He retired from one of the agencies, and he was giving about 400 million. And when you retire in the university, as I'm talking to you, no penny is given to me as of today. So the time I will expect my pension and my gratuity, maybe if I'm getting it, it will be next year. This is the reality of how we live in our country. So, you know, people even probably don't know this is what is going on. And in the civil service, actually, you find they spend 3 years after retirement. There is no penny coming to them, and they will be sacked out of the government quarters if you are inside there. So now, if I'm in the central bank today, probably my salary wouldn't have been 300, and I thought most of the top guys in the central choice. But the issue at that time, we are being paid, but we're happy what to do because we can eat well, we can buy ticket to Europe, we can buy a car. But today, salary of 371,000, you pay professor of medicine, and that's why many of them are going out of the country. Now, because of this foil, I can tell you in ABU today, professors of medicine or those in medical school, they go there only 3 times a week. And the people, the population want their service. When you go to the hospital, you know it's stacked full. But this cannot afford to be going daily based on the price of foil. And also when they had that conflict with the government, and then the government stopped their salary for 8 months. And now I learned Tinubu is saying that he's giving them Tinubu spokesman, Angelala, what is his name? He said that Tinubu promised to give them 4 months, but they have to sign. They will never go on strike again. You can't do that to intellectuals, you know. And then you have all these people stealing this money, including when we are talking of integrated payment system, which we question as intellectual and experts. We brought an alternative. They insisted on it. We said that this one will open room for fraud. And what happened at the end, out of that kind of fraud, the former accountant general of the Federation stole over 700 billion naira. And what happened? They arrested him, but he has been released and he has been given a traditional title, and they make a big ceremony in Nigeria. What kind of country are you? You know? So I think some of this, unfortunately, educational something, but you know, yes, there should be a culture for people to send their children to school. But still, I tell you, even in the north compared to the southwest, southwest is very impressive because education is an industry there. The thing what Aulu have done to them is to make free education. And that gives them some of that kind of basis, which was good for the country. But even the local people are thinking here, because there is a lady who is a wife of a bandit, came to my place. She said that she knows if maybe security had really arrest her, but she is here, is going to arrest her. Children, they must go to school because there, even if they are playing, they don't play with clay. They will take a stick, pretend like it is a gun. So she doesn't want the life of her kid to be brought up like that. So you see yes, the question of family, social be sorted out if you have good leadership. You know, yes, they have people marrying so many women, so many children, but you know, in Nigeria, there are that kind of culture, unfortunately. Yes, it's happened, but it does not mean that everybody. I have 2 children. I was not mobilized, but these choices are also based on because even when you are talking of the number of children, you are talking of the peasants, I think. But but these peasants now in Nigeria, particularly in the northern state, they rely on farm. They farm, they graze. Now because of the banditry, they cannot farm. They cannot graze. And then even the farmer, they will be taken and take the peasant, he will sell his farm and all this and pay the banditry. So you see, it's a very serious problem for our people. So now you go to our people, they cannot go to the farm. So they have nothing to eat. So that will affect also production in the country, food production. And it's not good for the country. And he cannot graze. So he is there in the village. I can tell you most of them, they are relying on leaves. Big majority of this. But nobody is discussing this at a policy level. That is a sad thing. And that's why this group, we have to be getting the something, and we sponsor research to see what is going on, how many children are out of school in Zamfara, and how much money Zamfara elites have, and what is stolen, where they were governors or they were leaders of the. So that's my take on this. I think you went to Korea. You did your PhD or? You are in Korea, I think. Cool.
No, I recently came back to Nigeria in September, sir.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So, all right. You finish your postdoctoral there?
Yes, I did a 1-year postdoctorate there.
Okay. Good.
Thank you for. I think we're going to bring back Mr. President back up to close. But if you can just, with your closing remark, you said something that has stayed with me throughout this conversation, that we should get ready because you're not sure what's going to happen in Nigeria, but and I'm just using my own words. So in order for there not to be a vacuum, we need to prepare. What does that look like in terms of preparing for, because people are angry, people are hungry, and there's almost a sense of hopelessness, not knowing what's coming. How do we begin to prepare to make sure that there isn't a vacuum that is going to even sink us into deeper woes than where we are right now? So that's what I would like for us to, if you can just have that as part of your closing remark, preparing, what does that look like? And preparing together, the North, the South, the East, the West. And I think for now, maybe we can just put aside this issue of moving Nigeria into different states. How do we prepare to heal or stop the bleeding? I like using the word stop the bleeding of the current situation, and then get back to some kind of equilibrium before we start planning for the next steps.
No, yes, you see, it's not a question of it is a wide gap created from maybe regional perspective or what have you. Because when you take up unemployment, it also goes in relation to education. So the major place where you will have a lot of explosion is in the South, particularly in the Southwest. Because there are people who have gone to school, their parents invested so well, some couldn't eat, some they do kitso and they braid hair to make sure their children have gone to school. Some have sent their assets. Now all these kids now are there at home. No jobs. Even those who are unemployed or those who are employed, you find out they are underemployed because you get somebody graduated in physics, but he is in the filling station. You find that he cannot make a breakfast to go to work. He don't even think of raising a family. This is the situation of our youth in Nigeria now. Because if they raise, they get money, maybe the wife is also unemployed. Parents are hanging from one place to another. This is unhealthy for any serious country. And their parents are also not happy. And let me tell you also other crises that is, you have to be very careful. The soldiers, these soldiers will go to the same market. And some of the things which civilian can do to go and do what Nigeria call buga buga, go to this place, get something, soldier in uniform cannot do it. And also I can tell you authoritatively When they send soldiers to fight in Northeast, and they stay for 6 months. And these politicians are here in Abuja sleeping with their wives and their children. That's also a problem. So, and now what they do also in Nigeria now, the distraction of women. Because these women go to school, they are not employed, or before she's employed, when she enter into any office or the so-called big man who will take her to job, instead of thinking, okay, here is a graduate coming to my own organization to control her own, to contribute her own quota to the development of her country, he start calculating where to sleep with her. Which kind of country where you have no respect for women and you take them as nothing mere sexual objects you expect a country to develop? We have to take these critical questions and be looking at them as a movement. And what I mean, you remember when they made anti-SARS, it shook the entire country. So now if something each other, now when you talk, people feel that you are even saying their own problem. So if there are some crises, you can talk and they can respect you and listen to you. But when they see that the elders don't even talk about their own problem, and when they see, you know, in Nigeria, what I tell my student, I tell my student, what is the biggest industry in Nigeria, the thrive? Somebody will tell you textile, brewery. But the biggest in sacrifice, people who know how to talk lies. You see somebody on television, he is talking, he himself knows what he's talking is not the truth. And we live a country, we live life like this. We need to adjust.
Yeah.
And because in Nigeria have problem, this is normal. Nigeria is like a Catholic marriage. You know, Catholic marriage, you don't divorce. So Nigeria is like a Catholic marriage. We can have differences, but we have to live with it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think this is a very important question. Someone put this in the chat. What are the deliverables and action points that each of us as leaders should start doing in our own little way to help move the country forward? And I always say that it's not the people that are ruling that are leaders, but each of us have leadership attributes. So that question, I think, is very key to moving forward. Can you address that? And then we'll bring Mr. President up to close.
Yeah, I think, you see, the issue is that what can we do? One will find is in the individual domain. And then to link up to see that, look, we have a common problem. That now you are having bandits in the bush. But you should be careful in cities. If you are not careful when you are having all those kind of problems in the bush, and you have all this kind of young people who have gone to University of Lagos, they have gone to something and they spent 3 years or 4 years without a job after having a university degree. You may be surprised if they tell you that they may create what you call urban guerrillas in some cities. And so the elite youth are safe in the cities, are not really safe, because we know the case now in Sao Paulo, in Brazil. We could see what Port-au-Prince in Haiti have turned into. It's run by gangs. So I think all of us will come there and we communicate to each other. And we try, to be fair to people, even if they're unfair. And also those who are in government, they should know that when people are saying, they also have a right to vent out their anger on issues that affect their lives. I have a professor of engineering who last time came and see me. He said that his 3 children graduated, one in civil engineering, one in agric engineering, the other in agric economics. For the last 3 years, none of them have a job. And today he's retired with a salary of 400,000 naira, with no pension, basically. So these kids also, you know, it creates some kind of thoughts in them. And when even you have a job, you can hardly make a meaning to you. You can hardly it. And so even the brothers in diaspora, they know what they are going through now. When you come to Nigeria, before you are used, everything is normal. It's not there. But now you come, you wonder whether at the same Nigeria you were there 2 years ago. So I say it's something which we should look at it and we should come together, because even if not our country going through this process, and also we should also advise government not to be arrogant because they are in power. They should coordinate with people to see that how they can run the something. Because when you look at what is going on, if you add the vote of Atiku and Obi, there are more than the vote of Tinubu, who is president now. So which means you have even more people opposed to the sitting government than something. This is a reality. And you see, you have to see like what one philosopher said. He said, two people are crazy. You have power, you have money, and you want crisis. So you must be crazy, because that crisis can affect your power or money. He said, then they asked the philosopher, who is the second crazy man? He said, the second crazy man, you are penniless and you want peace. Because you have no peace, you are penniless. You can't eat, you can't go to school. So thank you very much, Jumoke and Mr. President. We really appreciate your contribution to the country of calling.
Thank you so much for your time. And I guess, thank you, Uncle Bashir. We'll definitely be following up with you to learn more about some of the grassroots movements and the practical action that you are involved in, and how we can collaborate on that to really realize the results that we're looking for. At ALG, we started what we are calling the Citizens Responsibility Course, which is a means to really share the information and enlighten Nigerians on what their responsibilities are, their civic duties, and even rights as citizens, how to hold our government accountable, not only in Aso Rock, but even our local government. So there are a lot of that we're involved in that we believe should continue throughout the country. And now, you mentioned the food insecurity and you know, the devastating effect it has on us as a community. So we are also we have a food drive right now. We at Tri-Africa Empowerment Foundation to reach those really impacted communities. It's not a whole lot, but it's something to share some palliatives in January. So we'll also be speaking to you about that. And it's a way for us to highlight those communities that are not really talked about, and also to just come together as a community to support each other through this crisis and give a little bit of hope. So there are a lot that we are involved with and involved in that we would like to also continue to collaborate with you. Saeed, I want to thank you for being an ambassador for Africa Leadership Group. And so that means that by virtue of that, you're also recruited. Really appreciate your comments and would like to engage you, especially the youth, because everything we're doing is for the future of Nigeria. So thank you for those comments. I would, I'm not sure, Mr. President, can you get back on? Are you where you can speak now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I've been on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good. Let me just thank my brother, Dr. Kurfi. Thank you so much for your frankness, your candidness, your willingness to really be part of this process that will transform this great country called Nigeria. Really, really very grateful that you could make the time to come and be part of it. And like Jumoke said, we definitely will be reaching across to engage you a bit more in this process. You know, if we don't take back our country might not take us back. So we need to make sure that we are ready to really take this country and make something great out of a place that has extremely, extremely brilliant potential. You know, I always say that Nigeria is one of God's best kept secrets. It's one of the best things that God made. And it's just an amazement that the people who God made Nigeria for don't really value Nigeria and don't really want to bring out the best out of this country because of very, very smallness and small thinking and personal desires and a little bit of greed. But I'm hoping that great men like you can come together. We can all work together. You know, one of the things that's really missing in Nigeria is sincerity. Being able to work with people who are sincere and who are truthful and who have, I heard you say it a few times, the love of the average Nigerian, the love of the masses, the love of the people at heart. How do we make life better for the people? As we speak right now, I'm in Kaduna, and I've come here for a conference also on Nigeria and what to do with the electoral process and how to make the electoral process a bit tidier. You know, I chose to come because I thought it was a very, very relevant subject, electoral accountability and democratic stability in this country. And I'm hoping to network with quite a few people who would we can all work together. I'm actually looking for people that we can work together, sincere people, irrespective of tribe and background and religious affiliation. We just want Nigeria to be great. But driving through the airport, coming through into Kaduna, the level of poverty also is very evident. The level of almost abandonment is evident. The level of chaos, dirt, filth across what should be a beautiful place. And the political capital of northern Nigeria is evident. And it shows that there's so much work to do and there's so much that we can do. So I'm hoping that we'll be able to do a lot more. And I'm going to be asking you also to help us to reach out to our brothers from the north and our sisters from the north, as many of them as possible, that we can talk, that we can reach out with, that we can work with, that we can set up committees together to just see what we can do about this great nation. Thank you very much. My regards to the family. And I'm happy to know that Ahmed Kufi was your cousin. Great guy. We did a lot of things together in King's College. It was painful when he passed many years ago, but the Lord will comfort all of us in Jesus' name.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Everyone. Yeah. So I don't know if you have any other closing remarks before we go, or we're done, Jumoke. Doctor, do you have any other closing remarks at all?
Yeah, well, I will just say, first of all, thank you very much. And I'm very happy now with what we discussed. And you can make a very quick assessment from the airport to the town, you see. So, but people pretend like things are normal. You just don't build roads, but the reality on the ground is different. And you could see even the airport is basically abandoned. They still land in the airport. I'm surprised because last time the airport was taken over by the bandits. You know, so I wish
maybe they heard I was coming and they ran away.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very much appreciate, and I will do the maximum. And we will create all this interconnectivity so that we can move together as people.
Very, very important, my brother. We need to interconnect and we need to pull Nigeria together and work together as a people. Okay, I'll be reaching out to you, and I'm sure Jumoke also will be, and then we'll take it from there. I want to thank everybody who has come today. Abubakar, Isa, it's good to see you. God bless you. Thank you so much. Mrs. Udomo, thank you so much. My brother Abel, it's good to see you. It's like you addressed the military fatigue, ready to fight for Nigeria, but it's more like you're fighting the cold in London. God bless you. Jumoke, Sterling, as always, thank you so much. God bless us all. And we'll see you same time next week, where we begin to tackle some more issues in Nigeria. God bless you. Have a pleasant night and a wonderful weekend.
Okay, so there's a form if you're interested in engaging with ALG. There's a form I just put in the chat. Please go ahead and complete that form so that we can have your contact information. I'm going to repost it in the chat. Thank you for sending us your email address. Those of you that sent directly, but please go ahead and fill that form. That way we have all your contact information and understand your interest, which area you really want to plug into.
Thank you. God bless you all. Julia, thank you. Demola Ogun, thank you. Mr. Boye, thank you. Blessing and blessing, thank you. The great small voice has become a big voice. Ekpe Udom, grateful to see you here. Babatunde Diadelaku, Yetunde Macaulay, thank you for everything. And Babatunde Paul Rushewe, thank you. God bless you all. Austin, thank you as always. Abiola, thank you so much. Auntie Ajayi Tomori, thank you. We didn't see Marcelina today, but Odujimi, thank you.
Thanksgiving for us here.
Oh, Thanksgiving. So you are eating chicken and turkey. All right, so I think you can send some by DHL. Shade, thank you so much. Imam Dauda, thank you. Enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend. God bless you all.
Have a good night or good evening.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Bye. I'll be in touch. Thank you so much for your time.
Very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all. God bless you. See you again next week. Please tell others about it. Let people know that we are doing great things in Africa at Africa Leadership Group. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
God bless you.